James Buchanan Barnes. The Marvel Rivals community has been putting you in the hot seat recently and claiming that you, Mr. Bucky, are OP. I'm here today to discuss how true this claim is and what changes can we make to Bucky that seem fair for the game. Now, this is coming from a player that has peaked Celestial 2 so far this season and has played a ton of Bucky since the game's launch. I played him so much, in fact, that he is the only DPS character that I have the Lord icon for. I'm primarily a fill player, so I don't get a ton of chances to DPS, but when I do, it's most likely Steve Rogers' lover and ride or die, Bucky Barnes. Let's get right into some of the issues the community has been having with Bucky. The first being his shield on ability usage. There's people that have said the shield should be less, the shield shouldn't exist for every ability, or the shield shouldn't even exist at all. I believe that the shields need changing, but not in any of those ways that I just listed. We have to recognize Bucky's playstyle and kit design. He is the only DPS that is designed to be a ranged bruiser or brawler. That makes him very unique and his kit very attractive and fun to many players. The shield aspect is a big part of what makes him feel tanky and brawly, so I believe it definitely should stay. I will say though, that the healthier option would be to make it where the shield only procs on successful ability usage. You should be rewarded the survivability when you are committing to the brawl. I think that trying to disengage and just throwing out your blast or tapping your hook for that extra health doesn't really fall in line with the brawly playstyle that Bucky is known for. The other aspect of the shield that I would change would be to make all of the abilities give a flat 50 shield. I think it's weird that right now some give 40 and others give 50. I think it's a fair trade-off if we are making the shield gain be a bit more risky and skill-based. The other change would be in regards to his primary fire. There is no trade-off or balance here. I just think the projectile is just a bit too big, and there have been plenty of shots I've taken that I didn't think would hit, but does anyway. The projectile being so large, coupled with the AoE burst damage it does on impact, makes it feel like even Bucky players with lazy aim can still find reward in their gameplay. The projectile being smaller pushes players to have more accurate aiming. I mean, which you should anyway. It just requires more skill from Bucky players in general. The next change I would make would be to Bucky's hook. Right now, you are able to hold the hook for 4 seconds, and I would cut that directly in half to 2. This ability is arguably the strongest in Bucky's entire kit, and being able to just sit there for 4 seconds, giving you a very forgiving window to get value out of it, just seems a bit overtuned in my opinion. I think making the ability last 2 seconds forces you to be more proactive with it and allows more counterplay for the enemies. The hook reaches max range at only being charged for 1 second anyway, so it's not like you'd be losing much value by this shortening of the charge hold time. But the positive trade-off I would make would be to reduce the cooldown of this hook by 1 second. So instead of 8, it would be 7. I didn't want to make it a 1-to-1 trade-off because I think a 6-second hook cooldown does sound a little too strong, I won't lie, but I think nerfing it in this way does require a little positive offset because we have to remember the devs' nerfing philosophy. They don't want to just flat out nerf things because they are too strong until everyone gets the fun tuned out of them. Instead, they want to retune their characters, throw out some positive and negative changes to find balance while keeping the characters fun. Because anyone who's played Bucky can confidently say that he is one of the most fun characters to play with such a satisfying kit. Alright, it's time for the final change people have had their takes on, and that's Bucky's ult in relation to Loki's clones. I won't even keep you guys waiting on this one. I think I have a hot take on this and I will die on this hill, but I think the ult reset applying to Loki clones should absolutely stay. Now, I know some of you might say, oh, but 1 HP, we shouldn't be punished for having a Loki that just exists on our team. And to that I say, this might be a skill issue, because here's the thing. There are many characters that get countered by Loki for his existence. Psylocke mains cry whenever they have to play against a Loki because his clones make her ult completely useless, but we aren't out there white knighting for Psylocke players. Loki has an ult level ability on a 25-second cooldown that counters almost every DPS ult in the game. Think about that. We're talking about a regular ability that can counter 90% of the DPS cast. I believe there needs to be counters in this game. Some counters are harder than others, and I don't believe that Bucky is a hard counter for Loki like some of y'all think. Loki is an S tier support that takes some skill to play. I've been on my Loki arc lately and can confidently say that you can get tremendous value out of that character, but Loki has very little counters. Off the top of my head, I think Loki's best counters are like Moon Knight, who isn't even entirely that strong right now, and Bucky when he has ult. And here's the thing about Bucky's ult. He does not consistently get 15 agains whenever he has it, at least not in higher elo games. It has to be coordinated with another ult like a Groot or Strange. Loki just makes it easier for Bucky to get those resets, but I think it's a healthy counter since Bucky in many cases has to take a pretty big risk to get a ton of resets the higher in elo you get, because you usually dive further into the enemy's backline, away from your healers, and committing to a 1v3 or 1v4 that you're not completely set up to win. Unless you have follow-up with your team, like I was saying. Loki players just need to adapt when they play into Bucky's or Moon Knight's. At least that's what I do. Playing into those counters forces you to get a bit more skillful with your clone placements, and playstyle adapting is what makes counters healthy and helps you get good. Or I mean, you could just swap if you don't want to deal with it, whatever. But that's really going to do it for the Bucky changes I would make and my takes on this entire discussion. Do I think Bucky is OP? I wouldn't say OP, because there are plenty of OP things in this game, in my opinion. Like a Hela that could 2-tap you across the map, a Luda Snow ult that makes you invulnerable for 12 whole seconds, Loki totems that counter so many ults in the game and it's not even an ult itself, Namor Frozen Squids, Rocket Punisher Infinite Ammo, Invisible Woman, like in general. But Bucky, I mean, I think he's a very strong and consistent DPS with a satisfying and unique kit/playstyle that I'll admit is a bit overtuned. I feel this way for other DPS as well though, like Star-Lord or Wolverine for example. They are consistent, strong, and most importantly, fun. We don't want to go down the route of nerfing the fun out of these characters. We should always look to retuning and following negative changes up with positive ones. I love how NetEase has handled balance updates lately, and I think their philosophy is very healthy, and I hope that they stick to their guns and not get too distracted by some of the voices in this community. But that's my take, and those are the changes I'd take on making Bucky a more healthy character while remaining fun. Let me know what you guys think though. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or are there any other changes you would make that I didn't even list? Let me know below, we'll discuss, and while you're there, leave a like and a follow, and I will catch you next time.